Hello everyone, welcome back to the Future X USA channel. Please don't forget to subscribe and like my videos because today we are diving into a story that has shaken the battlefield and created shockwaves across the ongoing war. Imagine a situation where an advancing group of forces heavily armed and confident of their strength suddenly finds itself trapped, exposed, and ultimately destroyed. That is exactly what unfolded near Pokrovsk, where Ukrainian defenders decimated a massive Russian formation in one of the most devastating clashes of recent weeks. This is not just another battle update, it is a powerful demonstration of strategy, precision, and resilience that deserves to be unpacked in detail. To give a summary of the story at the start, in the region surrounding Pokrovsk, Russian forces attempted a large-scale maneuver, sending waves of armored convoys and infantry to overwhelm Ukrainian defensive lines. They believed the weight of numbers would guarantee success. But instead of a breakthrough, they walked into a carefully calculated Ukrainian ambush. The defenders had studied the terrain, set traps, and waited for the moment when the attackers were stretched thin and most vulnerable. What followed was a storm of artillery strikes, drone-guided attacks, and armored counter-moves that shattered the enemy's momentum. More than 1,000 troops were reported neutralized in a short span of days, along with dozens of vehicles, tanks, and equipment. For Russia, it was a staggering setback. For Ukraine, it was proof that even in the face of larger forces, intelligent strategy and modern tools can tilt the balance. That is the core of the Pokrovsk story, a clash that highlights how brains can overcome brute force. If we were to look at the exterior of this event, it immediately shows us the surface impression, a battlefield dominated by sheer size. Russia deployed overwhelming manpower and machines in an attempt to encircle and pressure the Ukrainian line. From the outside, the image was one of unstoppable momentum, convoys rolling forward, armored columns stretching across open fields, artillery pounding defensive positions. The exterior looked intimidating, designed to project dominance, but the Ukrainian side had its own visible presence, small but sharp. From the skies, the whir of drones filled the air, tracking every movement. On the ground, defensive lines looked quiet, almost deceptively so, as if waiting for something. The exterior optics created a classic image of David facing Goliath. What outsiders saw was a larger force marching forward with confidence, while a smaller but determined defender stood still, preparing to unleash a storm. When we explore the interior of this clash, we see the hidden elements that turned the tide. Ukraine's preparation was not in brute strength, but in intelligence, coordination, and modern technology. Inside their system of defense, they had built networks of artillery, connected drone reconnaissance, and rapid response units ready to exploit any weakness. Interior to the Russian offensive, however, there were cracks. Poor coordination, lack of timely air cover, and stretched logistics. Soldiers inside those armored vehicles often didn't know they were being tracked until precision strikes started raining down. The Ukrainian interior was tight, efficient, and aware, while the Russian interior was chaotic, disjointed, and reactive. And in battle, the interior system matters more than the exterior appearance. Performance is where the Pokrovsk battle truly stands out. The Ukrainian performance in this clash can be described as disciplined, sharp, and highly adaptive. Every strike was calculated, guided by real-time data from drones. Artillery crews performed with deadly precision, hitting convoys and ammunition trucks at just the right time to maximize damage. Small mobile groups of Ukrainian armor performed rapid counterattacks, cutting down escape routes and trapping pockets of Russian forces. Performance is measured not by size, but by effectiveness, and here Ukraine outperformed expectations. On the Russian side, performance faltered under pressure. Their advance was slow, their losses mounted quickly, and instead of overwhelming the defenders, they found themselves overwhelmed by superior tactics. The Pokrovsk clash showed that battlefield performance is about coordination, morale, and adaptability, not just about numbers. Safety features may sound unusual in a war context, but they are real. For Ukraine, the safety features of their defense included layered protection systems, early warning drones that spotted movements before they could become threats, and disciplined withdrawal and return tactics that minimized unnecessary exposure. Ukrainian units knew how to pull back when needed, only to regroup and strike again at more favorable positions. This was their safety net. Mobility, intelligence, and foresight. Russian forces, by contrast, lacked such features. They advanced in large exposed groups, often unaware of hidden traps. Their reliance on mass formations without protective aerial coverage made them vulnerable. Safety in battle is about reducing risks while maximizing the opponent's exposure, and here Ukraine clearly had the advantage. Unique selling points in this clash can be seen in how Ukraine leveraged modern warfare tools. Their unique advantage was the integration of drones at every level of battle. Unlike traditional forces that simply move forward and react, Ukraine sold the idea of 21st century warfare in practice. Drones scanning, guiding artillery, even dropping explosives directly on vehicles and trenches. Another unique point was the way they combined old and new Soviet-era artillery mixed with modern Western precision systems, used in harmony to create a storm of destruction. The Russian side, while larger, did not present a unique feature other than sheer numbers, and numbers alone proved insufficient. The Pokrovsk battle became a showcase of how innovation, creativity, and intelligence can become the ultimate unique selling points on the battlefield. When we think about the price of this clash, the numbers are staggering. For Russia, the price was thousands of lives, massive losses in equipment, and yet another blow to morale. Each destroyed tank, each neutralized soldier, each failed maneuver was part of a heavy cost that weakened not just their presence near Pokrovsk, but their overall campaign in the region. For Ukraine, the price was also real. Defenders sacrificed lives, endured relentless bombardment, and expended valuable ammunition. The price for them was resilience, holding the line against waves of attack. Yet in the balance, Ukraine's price was far smaller compared to the enormous cost inflicted on their opponents. In war, price is always measured not just in material but in morale and momentum. And here Ukraine gained far more than it lost. As we draw towards the conclusion, the Pokrovsk clash can be seen as more than just another battle. It is a lesson in modern strategy, how preparation, intelligence, and adaptability can destroy a much larger force. Ukraine's defenders prove that wars are not won by size alone. They are won by those who know how to think, adapt, and act with precision. The decimation of Russian forces near Pokrovsk is not only a military event, it is a symbol of resilience. It shows that even when surrounded by overwhelming odds, there is always room for victory if the right tools and the right strategies are in place. For Russia, it was a bitter reminder that brute force cannot substitute for planning. For Ukraine, it was a morale boost and a signal to the world that they remain capable of turning back even the strongest offensives. This story near Pokrovsk is not just a piece of war news. It is an unfolding chapter of resilience versus aggression, brains versus brute force, and modern technology versus outdated mass assaults. The lesson is clear. Numbers alone will not decide this war. The sharpness of strategy, the courage of defenders, and the innovation of modern tools will. And as long as Ukraine continues to demonstrate this level of performance, the world will continue to witness more stories where the smaller force overcomes the larger one. So that is the review and explanation of the dramatic decimation of a huge force near Pokrovsk. If you found this breakdown informative and eye-opening, please subscribe to the Future X USA channel, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Because in the end, stories like these are not just about war. They are about human resilience, intelligence, and the eternal struggle between might and right.